My name is Steve from Flipping the Nerd, and this is my top 10 favorite TV shows. I'm doing these top 10 series weekly now on my channel. Hope you like them. I enjoy doing the list, so that's why I put them out there. Really, it's no other reason than to put them out there because I enjoy it, and also to have awesome conversations with you. I would love for you to comment and tell me what you think. What are your favorite shows? What do you think of my favorite shows? All that kind of good stuff. So let's begin. I will start with some honorable mentions. I have 5 of them. I would feel bad not to at least mention them, but they just didn't crack my top 10. The 5 are, we have Stranger Things, an amazing show. I really love where it's going, but at 2 seasons long at the moment, I feel that it hasn't earned a spot in my top 10 just yet, but it's definitely on its way there, and I hope that by season 3, I can bump it up and add it to my list. Then we have Black Mirror, another Netflix show. I really love Black Mirror. It's a great series, but being an anthology, I think is what's leaving it off my top 10 because there isn't one narrative that's really going throughout the series, even though they are tying it a little bit together right now. I think that's why I wouldn't consider my top 10, but a show I definitely enjoy and needed to mention. Then we have Survivor. I don't watch a lot of reality shows, but Survivor I've been watching since the beginning. I had to give it a mention, but I wouldn't quite put it in my top 10, although it's an amazing show. I always love to watch it. Been watching it since the beginning and all the way to 30, 31, 32 seasons now. And the fact that I still enjoy it to this day is a testament to how great of a show it is. Then there's 6 Feet Under, an amazing series about a family that goes through kind of death-related issues. This could have been in my top 10, but it had a very weak season 3. In fact, if I look at the 5-season arc, I really see it like a V. Amazing first season, pretty good second season, horrible 3rd season, pretty good 4th season, and amazing 5th season with probably the best finale of all time. But because of that, it didn't crack my top 10. And finally, Dexter. I absolutely love the TV show Dexter. It was an amazing series, but that finale, or that last season, but particularly that last episode, really hurt this show in my eyes. It's unfortunate, but it's still a great series. I'd still recommend people watch it, especially up to season 4. Maybe even up to season 6, but don't really go past that, and definitely don't watch that last episode. 6 Feet Under had the best finale, man, Dexter had the worst one. So let's go and hit that top 10. Number 10, Lost. Yes, I loved Lost. When this was airing, my friends and I would gather together. We'd watch it together if we could, at least the season finales. We discussed it all the time. It was the talk of the town. I didn't know what to expect. It was just such a crazy show for its time, especially. And I absolutely love this series. I love the characters. I loved pretty much everything about it. Now, the reason it's so low on my list is because there were a lot of unanswered questions. The finale wasn't that great. It didn't really tie things together in a way that I thought was all that good. So unfortunately, that's why I have it down to number 10, but I still enjoy watching it. I still love the characters. I still remember just how awesome this show was, especially in its initial run. So it is on my top 10, but that's why it's there at the bottom. Still, amazing show. I'd recommend it if you haven't seen it. Number 9, Breaking Bad. Wow. The first time I watched Breaking Bad, I watched 5 episodes and I just didn't get into it. I just this is not for me. I'm gonna pass on this one. But people kept talking about it, how it's the best thing, and just it pushed me to give it one more shot. And wow, did I not regret that. What an amazing series about a teacher who has cancer, who's trying to provide for his family. So he starts making his own brand of meth. He's a chemist, so he has this really top-notch meth, and it's just a crazy adventure. It's awesome throughout. It has great villains, great supporting characters. Breaking Bad was an awesome show and absolutely deserves to be here on this list. Number 8, Daredevil. Unfortunately, This show has been canceled as far as we know. This is probably because of Disney starting their own channel. But for the 3 seasons that Daredevil was on, I absolutely loved it. Now, I loved most of what the Netflix Marvel shows had to offer, but Daredevil is the one that stood on top as far as I'm concerned, especially with the way Daredevil himself was portrayed, which is just perfect, and then Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. Oh man, he was so good as a villain. I loved having the Punisher in there in season 2. Absolutely great show. Could not recommend it more, especially if you're a fan of Marvel. This is the Daredevil we had been waiting for, and that's it had to be on my list. Number 7, Friends. The first kind of serious drama thing on my list. I used to love sitcoms in the 90s. I watched them all the time. Roseanne, Home Improvement, Boy Meets World. There was a ton of sitcoms that I watched at the time. But Friends was one of my top. There's one that's going to be a little bit higher. But I loved the chemistry between the 6 characters. It's a show I adored in the 90s, and I started watching again recently, and I remember just how much fun I have with that show. People say it hasn't aged well. I disagree. Sure, there are certain jokes and certain things that haven't aged as well, but overall I still think it's great, it's funny, and I absolutely love this series, so Friends definitely had to be on my list. Number 6, Seinfeld. Oh man, Seinfeld was awesome. You know, it was a must-see Thursdays. We had Friends, and then some show that they tried to push in the middle, and then you had Seinfeld at 9. Seinfeld is hilarious. I especially love George Costanza as a character, more so than Kramer, which a lot of people seem to gravitate towards. And the thing about Seinfeld is there are a lot of things I liked when I watched it in its initial run. I mean, in the 90s, I was a teenager. But when I watch it today, I can relate to it on a whole other level, being an adult and living a lot of the stuff that they show on this show. And that's just hilarious show. One of the best sitcoms of all time as far as I'm concerned. There's one more that's going to be on top that's probably obvious what I'm going to say about that. But for now, Seinfeld, great show. Absolutely love it. Had to be on this list. Number 5, Sons of Anarchy. This is a show I absolutely love. It's a show about a guy called Jax who is in a motorcycle club, and his father is one of the founders of the motorcycle club, but he passed away in the past, and his mother is kind of taking care of it, and her new husband or boyfriend, I don't remember, is the head of the club, and they go through this crazy 7-season adventure. I loved it. I loved this show throughout. There's one kind of weak season where they went to Ireland, but the rest of the show was stellar. It had a great last season and an amazing last episode. So I really loved it. I love the camaraderie between the characters. It was one of those shows where they'd get into these situations and I wouldn't know how they'd get out and be really kind of stressed about it, and it was amazing. Absolutely phenomenal show. Now they're doing a spin-off, which is, I don't remember off the top of my head, The Mayans. The spin-off is The Mayans, which is pretty good. I'm not loving it quite on the Sons of Anarchy level yet, but it's got to get there. Maybe, you know, it's only been there 1 season, so Sons of Anarchy, awesome show, had to be on my list. Number 4, Game of Thrones. Now this could possibly go up there even higher. There's still 1 more season to go at the time of this recording, but I had to mention Game of Thrones. It is a fantastic show. At first, it took me like 2 or 3 seasons to understand who everybody was. There were so many characters, but they killed off most of those characters, made it a little bit easier to follow later on, but you also start to get the gist of it. Great show. I mean, it's got dragons, it's got crazy action, it's got things that you never thought you would see on television, and it is a fantastic show. I'm glad that it's got the popularity that it does now, and I cannot wait for that last season. Man, we've been waiting for this season for like almost 2 years. I can't wait to see it. Only 2 or 3 months left at the time of the recording, and I am pumped. This could very well go near or straight to the top. Probably not the top, but maybe second. But it depends. We're gonna have to see where it goes, and hopefully it does, and it doesn't disappoint. But I doubt it. Game of Thrones has been solid throughout. Number 3, This is definitely the oldest show on my list, but is absolutely one of my favorites. One that I feel people of like this newer generation won't give a chance to because it looks old, whatever that is, and I am totally guilty of that too. The only reason I gave this show a shot is because I had surgery. I went to my dad's house, well, my parents' house, and they had just bought a new DVD player, and they had two DVDs: Best of Friends season 1 to 3, and MASH season 1. So MASH, absolutely my number 3, about a mobile army surgical hospital in Korea. It has great characters. It's both funny and also very sad, and there's all sorts of emotions that you go through in this show. It is must-see television. If you have to give this show a chance. It is amazing. I mean, it's probably the most popular show of all time as far as ratings went. The finale episode, I think, is the most watched broadcast of all time, maybe excluding like the Super Bowl or something like that. I mean, it was such a big hit that it broke the New York sewage system because so many people flushed at the same time when the episode ended. Because back then there was no recorders, there was no, DVDs or on demand or any kind of that stuff. So crazy show. It is so good. I couldn't recommend it more. And if you need to give it a 1-episode shot, I'd recommend an episode called Dear Sigmund, which is about the psychiatrist who writes a letter to Sigmund Freud. Not really Sigmund Freud, but kind of to himself. Anyway, Dear Sigmund, best episode probably in that series has. It's amazing. Great finale. So had to be on my list at number 3, MASH. Number 2. This is going to be a little bit controversial because I think people have very polarizing thoughts about this show. But for me, this is number 2, The Walking Dead. I am a huge fan of zombies. I have been since I'm a kid. Dawn of the Dead, the Romero version, is my favorite horror film of all time. I love almost anything that has to do with zombies. I'll love. Night of the Living Dead from the Tom Savini remake is one of my favorite horror films of all time as well. The Dawn of the Dead remake was amazing. Zombieland was amazing. I mean, I love zombies. So when I heard that a TV show about zombies, The Walking Dead, based off a comic, which is awesome, and at the time it was being showrun by Frank Darabont, who made my favorite film of all time, The Shawshank Redemption. I mean, my mind was blown, and I really love this show. I know people have jumped off the boat lately, even though it's still the most popular show on television, as far as I know it. As far as cable goes and ratings goes, it's still by far the most popular show. But I know there's a lot of people who hate it now. It's almost like popular to hate it, which I think is the stupidest friggin' thing ever. If you don't like it, stop watching. That's it. The end. That's how I live my life. I don't go bashing shows because I don't like it anymore. But I love The Walking Dead. I think this season, we're at season 8 or 9 now, is starting to finally go back in an uprise with the Whisperers. It did have a couple slower seasons lately, but that doesn't mean I don't like the show. I love the show. So say what you will, I love The Walking Dead, and that's why it's my number 2. Number 1. What could my number 1 be? I wonder. I love this show so much, my office is themed after it, and that is The Office. I absolutely love The Office. Now, a little bit of context, up until recently, and my job for the last, forever, like 20 years, was to work in essentially the exact same type of situation. I was in a office supply company, working in a small office, doing exactly the same thing. So I related very, very heavily to the show to begin with, but the characters are funny, the situations are absolutely absurd and hilarious. It is by far my favorite show. It might remain there forever. I mean, I'm building up my office more and more. Fortunately, there's not a lot of stuff that they sell anymore from The Office, but if there is anything that they sell from The Office, I go and pick it up because I'm such a huge fan. The people of Dunder Mifflin are just the best. It's funny, it's hilarious. I can't say enough good things about the show, although unfortunately, kind of like some of the other shows, not the greatest near the end of its run, especially after Steve Carell left, but still some classics, still have those great characters throughout, and this is my favorite show of all time. So let me know, what is your favorite shows? What do you think of my favorite shows? I'd love for you to tell me. And also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And I'll see you all on the flip side.